seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. We're joined this Sunday morning, and we've got a belt of a show coming up for you. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined by a very good friend here on the Bhoycie bus. Thank you for joining again, Phil.
No worries at all, mate. Always happy to be on the bus, mate. I'm picking up my double hat-trick ball today. It's my 6th appearance, so there you go. Not that I'm counting, but hopefully the people aren't fed up with seeing my face yet. So, but I'm happy to always be on, mate.
No, thank you for agreeing to come on. I just thought it'd be great to have you on again. So, first of all, we're just going to talk about this game at Ross County today. This is going to be a very tough game because Ross County, they've not lost a home game since Celtic last went there. And I think that just shows you, Phil, what type of team we're up against today. We can't take them for granted.
Oh, totally, mate. I mean, this will probably sound like quite arrogant from my point of view, but see, honestly, for the last, I don't know how many years, right, going back maybe even the full 9 in a row run, I've been very much of, as long as Celtic are top, although a Celtic are in the league, I don't really pay much attention to like who's top and who's second. It took me by a lot of surprise a few weeks ago when like we were heading towards the split, and it was like 3rd place down to, was it 9th? We're only separated by 3 points. I genuinely was like, what? And then to see Ross County, because the last sort of time I'd paid attention to like their results was when we were playing them back in December, and they were down near the bottom, struggling at that point. So it took me by surprise to see how well they've done. And yeah, you are right. They will make it difficult today. They will, and they've got something to fight for, which is 4th place at the moment is European spot. I don't know if it's Conference League, Europa League, what competition they go into. But Dundee United are currently in that spot on 41 points. Ross County and Murrow are both on 40, so they've definitely got something to play for. It's not just a case of Ross County are going to be happy because they got in the top 6. They get a couple of extra games against Celtic and Rangers for the ticket revenue. Now, they will definitely fancy, right, we can get 4th place here and get in a European spot. So they should not be taken lightly, and I don't think Ange will take them lightly, to be fair. I would be very surprised if he did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Celtic played up at Ross County this time a few months ago, and it was 2-1 in the 98th minute. what is your memories of that game, Phil?
My memories of that game, right, was first of all I had to watch it on his goal because it was one of the games where, despite us being away, we had to pay Ross County the 15 quid to watch it on their streaming service. So I was like, look, I did enough of that during the lockdown year. I was like, I'll just find it on his goal. And my memory of that, like many people I saw on Twitter, is I didn't see Ralston's goal live. I didn't see it happen because my stream worked perfectly till the 94th minute, and then it all went to shit. And I was on Twitter and I saw lots of people like, did we score? Did we actually score a winner? I genuinely didn't know at the time. I only found out just by going on Twitter a few minutes later, and it was like everyone's going mental. So my genuine memory at times, I didn't see it live, but my God, it looked like absolute carnage. I can only imagine the fans there in the stadium were absolutely loving it. But yeah, my vivid memory of that one is I didn't even know it happened. It was ridiculous at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a story on that because I was watching the game, but my stream was 4 or 5 minutes behind real time. So I started to get a bit frustrated. So then I put on the radio coverage with Liam McLeod and Packy Bonner, who were basically up to date on the game.
Right.
And then I heard them saying that Celtic had scored. So that was me. But as for today, where do you think it'll be one a loss for Celtic? Because you think of Ross County, they've got some dangerous players as well.
Yeah, Reegan Charles Cook. He's been doing bits for them this season. Am I right in saying that Reegan Charles Cook, he's sort of wide forward, so he comes in? So it's going to go to one of the fullbacks. I believe he's left side he plays, so it'll be Ralston up against. But I'm sure we'll be talking about Ralston later on. I know that's one of the talking points, but it's going to be a physical battle, and I think it's a good thing that Giakoumakis is back. Because they'll have the usual big cloggers at the back who are going to try and throw us around a wee bit, especially after what we saw last week, where it seems like you can get away with a lot of meaty tackles on Celtic players. So yeah, we've got to be aware of that. But I'm quite confident that as long as we just stick to what we've been doing all season, I mean, there's a lot of talk being made about Ross County haven't lost since December, and that is good for them stuff. But we've not lost a league game since September as well, so you've got to take that into account. So I'm quite confident that we can pull out the bag here. But yeah, up front will be so crucial because last week we saw that without that focal point in the middle, it can be difficult for us. But we'll get on to Giakoumakis very soon, I do believe.
Yeah, I want to ask you now about Kyogo. Do you think Kyogo's inclusion will make us stronger for the last part of the season?
Definitely. Oh God, look at what he's done already this season. For the first half, he literally dragged us through. He won us that cup final. Because there were points this first half of the season where without him, you're terrified to think. And the key for us was to get to the January window and still be within touch. And if you take Kyogo's goals out of the equation, we'd be, I don't know where we'd be right now. It doesn't bear thinking about. But the thing is, when you think back to the St. Johnstone game, the 7-0, we got a very brief glimpse as well of Kyogo finally getting on to play alongside Maeda in the same team. And I think it was the 7th goal that Abada scored. Right before that, Kyogo picks up the ball in the centre circle and pings an absolutely amazing 50-yard pass right into Maeda's path, takes a touch past the goalkeeper. Abada kind of steals it off of him. I don't know. It looked like he may because Maeda still had to do a wee bit of work there. But if that sort of link-up play, I think, even if they're both playing on opposite wings with Giakoumakis in the middle, I still think the link-up play you could get between Kyogo and Maeda being on the same park, I think it will be magic to watch. So, yeah, I think he will make a big difference. And, he's a quality player. And at this stage of the season, we need all the quality players we can get to get us over this line.
I just wanted to ask you, obviously we didn't talk about this in the talking points, but somebody you brought up there was James Forrest. Do you think Forrest has got a long-term time at Celtic? Because I thought last Sunday when he came on, it was very, very poor, and he caused that goal, the final goal Rangers scored, because he switched off for Bhoycie to run down the wing.
Yeah, it's a shame for Forrest because I recognise all the achievements that he's had at Celtic, and he has been a phenomenal servant. But a day comes for every player where it's time to move on. The weird thing is, though, I keep thinking, where do I see Forrest playing other than Celtic? It's because he's been there for so long. I can't envision him anywhere else. Like, I couldn't see him going to an SPL club. I think his wage demands would be too high for a team like, say, Hibs or something like that, right? And then I think, but maybe down in England, maybe a Championship club. Couldn't see him at a Premier League club. But in terms of like Forest as well, with the Bhoycie goal last week, it wasn't just him that was solely responsible. We were just an absolute mess down that side for the whole of extra time. Stephen Welsh came on, played at right back. He was clearly not comfortable playing there. And as well in the modern game, you'll see it with a lot of managers. They always want their wingers to be able to track back and stick in a tackle, and Forest has never been one for that. So when we were in a position where Stevie Welsh, who was like a deer in the headlights, was left 2-on-1, Forest, even if he did catch up to him, would he even stuck a tackle in on him, because he hasn't been, he's not the best when it comes to a slide tackle, and he's not got the best like body strength to knock like Bhoycie off the ball. So even if he did keep up with him, I don't know. And his experience is obviously going to be valuable, but I think now Ange knows what works, what's going to get him to the finish line, and I think he's going to stick to that. So if it's Jota, Abada, or Maeda, that'll be his 3 sort of guys that he'll rotate in the wing positions, or obviously Kyogo. I think Forest is way down the pecking order right now.
I want to ask you a quick question.
Hmm?
This might just be me, but I don't think Ange Postecoglou really suits James Forrest as a player. Like Ange Postecoglou's system of play, the style of play, I don't think it suits James Forrest.
So I think so. And again, it's that whole like pressing thing and tackling. Like the amount of times that you've like I've watched James Forrest as well, where I sit at Celtic Park, I'm in the Lower Jock Steam, looking down towards the Lisbon Lions End. There's been so many times where, even before Ange came in, where like the ball gets passed back to goalkeepers quite a lot in the modern game, and you'll see Forrest sometimes goes in to close them down, but he always bends his run at the last minute instead of like putting the pressure on. It just seems like when it comes to high presses and stuff like that, I don't think Forrest is cut out for it. So as I say, as sad as it is, and he has achieved a lot, and he'll go down as a Celtic legend in many eyes, no doubt about it, for what he's achieved and the contributions. I just hope that he can get to the whole 100 goals, 100 assists things, because I think it was highlighted a while ago that he's been on, it's like 96, 97 goals. Somebody in the comments will no doubt tell us exactly what it is, but he's so close to getting the 100, so you'd like to just see that for him. But does that involve him staying into next season and so forth? I don't think Ange's got much time for sentimentality at the moment, so I don't know. I feel that Forrest could be a bit of a bust now, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, and I just want to move on to someone that was sorely missed last week and hopefully makes a big impact today, and that is Chaos Giakoumakis.
Let the chaos reign.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he was going to make a big impact today?
Yes, he will. He's a focal point. We definitely need him. I mean, I know Russell says this quite a lot. He's on the show. We don't have any Nostradamuses. I don't try to be in the know and pretend to be Nostradamus, but I do find it really funny that the first time I was on the show was just after the loss to Bodo in the first leg. And at that point, both Giakoumakis and Maeda were both getting quite a bit of flack from fans, because actually we hadn't lost a game for quite a long time at that point, and to have a pretty demoralising loss that night, they had to vent it someday. And I can remember both me and Russell were really championing Giakoumakis. I think I used the Olivier Giroud comparison from the 2018 World Cup, where I was like, I'm not saying he's the same level of player, because Giroud is quite a good player, but in that France team, you had Mbappe, Griezmann, and Giroud, and Didier Deschamps copped a lot of flack because he kept playing Giroud, because he's like the odd one out. And it's like, look, I know he didn't score a goal, he didn't get a shot on target, but he fits the system that Deschamps wanted to play. He might have a list of like things he wants Giroud to do: score a goal, cause all sorts of havoc and stuff like that, win knock-ons. And Ange will be the same with Giakoumakis. Maybe if he doesn't score a goal, as long as he's done the other things like cause all sorts of anarchy, win knock-ons, allow players to get in behind, then he's doing his job. And as time has went on, Giakoumakis has begun winning with goals, and he still does all of the other stuff as well. So he's become a very valuable player. And I'm now starting to really buy into something that's came up a lot in the comments on this show about people saying that was the plan all along, they reckon, as Giakoumakis was always going to be the number one striker. It just so happened when he came in at the start of the season, he just didn't quite have that fitness level at that point. But yeah, I can see his value now, very, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wanting to go back to another talking point. Do you think Kyogo and Giakoumakis would be able to play as a front two?
Oh, that is the question. Again, I think there's too much when it comes to football systems and formations. I think there's too many people are very much black and white when you talk about it's 4-3-3, so you think it's going to be very rigid 4-3-3. And I think they can definitely play in the same team, but it would just be a case of, if Kyogo's out wide, and it would involve the other winger as well, where if one tucks in, the other stays out wide. There would need a bit of fluidity, but I definitely think they can play together. I don't think he would necessarily change to a 2 up top formation for the whole game. It would just be a case of, if we're playing this 4-3-3, your wide forwards would have to cut in from time to time, and maybe one come in and support, and the other one stay out, and then vice versa. But I can definitely see them doing that. No doubt about it. It's not outside the realms of possibility.
And do you think that's why Giakoumakis has worked so well up against tight, structured teams like Ross County this season, because he's a different dimension to Kyogo?
He is that, and it's not even just, again, that big clogger thing, because we don't play like long ball. I saw people on Friday night talking about the whole Arbroath fairy tale, because again, a lot of people have just seen the league table in the championship and have thought, oh, Arbroath are doing well. And I've seen the amount of people on Twitter that actually watched the game on Friday against Kilmarnock and were like, oh my God, Arbroath are just so horrible to watch. It was like 4-4-2, Mike Bassett, England manager style, just big long ball up the park. That's all it was. But we don't play that. And people will think, oh, Giakoumakis, you're bringing in this big target man, you're just going to play long balls. So we're still going to play the same thing. He just likes the ball into feet, but he can hold the ball up and maybe knock it onto somebody getting in behind, because, our wide forwards have been a massive, source for goals this season. So look at Abada, look at how many goals he scored. So guys like, Giakoumakis, it won't just be a case of, we're just going to lump a big long ball up and he's going to win a header and stuff like that. No, they'll just play it into feet. He can hold off any defenders, when any midfield runners coming through, he can lay it off to them. It'll be things like that. It's not as, again, black and white as, he's just a big guy. We'll just knock a big 50-yard pass up to him and he can chest it down. No, not necessarily. No, so you definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the team today, and I fully expect he will start. No doubt about it.
Yeah, do you think the important thing for Ange Postecoglou that he's got so many options, he can score a lot of times of goals like Abada, Jota, Matt O'Reilly, you've got Rio as well. You've got so many options that can score goals.
That's the thing. Like, you don't want to be a one-man team and be so reliant, because people were worried about that when Kyogo dropped out in December, because obviously he'd been the talisman for the first half of the season. It's like, oh God, can we cope without him? But we've shown we're not a one-man team. It's not just a case of, Kyogo's injured, we're just going to fall away. And like, if anything, we actually got stronger in the second half of the season. I remember we came back from that winter break in our fixtures. We had Hearts away, Aberdeen away, we had Dundee United game at home, Rangers at home, and Motherwell away. So it was like 5 games, not necessarily in that order, but coming back, it's like, trip to Tynecastle, we'd even beat there. Pittodrie's never an easy place to go. Fir Park's quite difficult. We've also got Rangers, who at that point were top of the league. And it's like, oh man, and we got 15 points out of 15. And that's genuinely the point in the season where I thought, right, we can do this now. Like, as long as we were in touching distance at the halfway stage, but we came back and got those wins, I was like, right, we just, and that again was all without Kyogo. So it just showed that, we're not a one-man team, which is a good thing to have, because you don't want that to be dependent on one guy. And I see even in Giakoumakis, but first half of the season, again, it goes back to that, because people might go, well, you're now treating Giakoumakis like he's a saviour. Well, in the first half of the season, Giakoumakis barely played, and we've done well. So, yeah, it's good that he's got all these options. Strength and depth is crucial. And especially at this stage now, where we just need to get over the line. We need to do everything in our power.
Something that I was reading as well is that if Giakoumakis' squad that he was playing it with in the Dutch top flight, if they didn't get relegated, Celtic would have paid something like 13 million for him.
It was something like that, yeah. It's the good old relegation release clauses. If you're an avid Champ Manager, Football Manager fan, you know all about them, all these minimum fee release clauses and stuff like that. But yeah, apparently it was one of those where if Venlo had stayed up, they would be looking for in excess of 12 million. Obviously, with them getting relegated, it then means he can now leave for a cheaper price, because he obviously doesn't want to play in the Dutch second tier. And yeah, we definitely want to watch for that one. Again, I know there was a few people were quite cynical about it, me included, and it was just a case of, when I first heard, I was like, so hold on, top goal scorer in Holland, and we're getting him for £2.5-3 million, whatever it was about, whatever it equated to. So there was a wee bit in my head where I was like, this is too good to be true. And sometimes when it is too good to be true, you're like, maybe it is, but no, it's just been a contract clause. That's what it's all come down to. We've just happened to speak to the right people, the right contacts, and we've happened to source this one and get in there before anybody else did. Because I don't remember when we signed him. There might have been, was it Werder Bremen from Germany was a name that were linked, but it wasn't like there was 5 or 6 clubs chasing him. Usually when we're linked with a player, you get all the usual stories from the newspapers. This team's after him and this team, but I don't remember much of that with Giakoumakis at all.
No, and I think it's a shrewd bit of business for Ange Postecoglou. And he's definitely shown, because I don't know if you read it at the time, but he also said that he spoke to Giakoumakis as well.
It could be something as well, because remember, Giakoumakis being Greek and Postecoglou obviously is Greek as well. So it could be, again, just contacts that he has, that kept him in the loop at that one. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to Postecoglou, even though there's a whole nobody's ever heard of him chat, look at what Joe Hart said. And Joe Hart was convinced to sign. He says he had a chat with Postecoglou and he just made him feel wanted. So it's not a case of, you've got to have heard of the manager and want to play for him. It's just like if the guy, says all the right things and makes a player feel like, this is my plan for you, this is what I want to do you, then yeah, he's obviously swayed Giakoumakis and has obviously benefited us massively. So yeah, he's a pivotal cog in the machine right now. So yeah, gotta just good to see him back today, man. Really will be.
No, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, Phil, because I was on the show a few weeks ago saying I would rather sign Jota than Carter Vickers. But for me, Jota has been disappointed the last few weeks. What do you think the problem's been with him?
Oh, there is the $6 million question. Again, this is all just speculation because we don't pretend to be ITK on the Bhoycie bus. We don't know. We can only just kind of take a guess, surmise what might have happened. But it is interesting when you look at the first half of the season where he was flying, he was doing all sorts for us, assists, goals, and so forth. And since he's came back after that injury over the winter period, it's very hard to pinpoint many key moments. I would say up at Tawdry was a high point for him when he scored 2. Aberdeen pinned us back to 2 each and he went out the park and scored. So he scored 2 that night. And other than that, he's had a few fleeting moments here and there. I mean, I thought last week when we played the Cup semi-final, I mean, the whole team were off for the most part, but it was quite indicative of his game when, I think it was in the first half, quite early on, he cut inside from the left and ballooned a shot from about 35 yards out right into the Rangers end. And it was just like, because he's been doing that cut in on his right foot a lot this season and having a shot. And he seems to be getting further away. Because I remember the Dundee United game at the start of the season, we drew 1-1. There was the last couple of minutes and he cut inside and he bent it right into the top corner and it hit the crossbar. And that's the closest he's came. Yes. Every time he's done that since then, it seems to be getting further and further away. And yeah, that one just summed it up last week. And in terms of out of the two of them, at the moment, I would be leaning towards Carter Vickers. If I had a choice to sign one or the other, because a good centre-back is very hard to come by. And most managers will always tell you the success is built on a good defence. And at the moment, out of the two of them, if I had a choice, and I know Jota's got a lot of sell-on appeal, but on current form, I would definitely be prioritising Carter Vickers. But in terms of what's happened to Jota, again, it could just be an agent. It could be something like when he went back. There was talk he went back to Lisbon in the winter break for treatment on his injury. Did he have a meeting with the top brass at Benfica who told him, like, we've got plans for you next season? We don't know. We won't know the truth. We just need to wait to the summer and see what happens with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you this as well, because a lot of people talk about if you'd rather sign one of them, but surely if Celtic get the £40 million, we should be able to sign the two players.
I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility. I definitely think, I mean, if it's, if we're winning this league and you get that Champions League entry, and I know there's a whole thing about where you don't technically get the Champions League money to the end of next season, but you can sort of speculate essentially. You know you're going to get these funds and you can work out a deal. I don't think it's outside the realms to do both. And I think maybe if we do sign Jota full time, if it does happen, maybe because at the moment there's a lot of maybe speculation in his head, just putting him off his game right now. If he becomes settled and knows what his future is, then we might start to see the Jota from the first half of the season. But yeah, in terms of if we could sign both, I'm all for being greedy in the world of football. So I'll take both of them if that's the case. If we can do it, I'll take it.
I think a big pull as well is if this squad can win that Scottish Premiership, then it's a big pull as well, because they'll be a team there's obviously Postecoglou's managed to get into the first league title, so everybody wants to stay. Plus, you've got the added bonus of playing Champions League football as well. Because no disrespect, but if you've got Jota going back to Benfica, he'll not be guaranteed to play. But if you go over to Celtic and Champions League, this could do really well for his profile.
It could do. It definitely can. See, when it comes to the Benfica thing, we don't know if they've given any promises or if his agent's telling him, look, there's another team in the French league, something that's showing interest. But yeah, in terms of like if he stayed at Celtic and played those in Champions League, then yeah, it does, give him a better stage to show what he can do. But the key is we've got to perform in the Champions League. And I mean, last week when we were doing the post-match press, Chris asked, how do you think we'd be doing Europe next season? It's tough. It's tough to call because you don't know what the summer's going to bring in terms of who we're going to sign in that. And I would imagine if we're in the Champions League next season, we're probably going to be in the fourth pot. I would stab, I guess, at that one. And there are some obscene teams that even come out of the third pot. So it will be a tough one. So to me, it's no good being in these competitions and just taking 6 pastings. I said this the first time I was on the show, like, I love the Champions League nights, love the big atmosphere, love the music, all the games under the lights, stuff like that. But I don't enjoy getting pasted 5-0 by Paris Saint-Germain at home. As good as PSG, I don't want this. Like, this is not good. So we have to at least get back to a sort of competitive level. We can give teams a game because then guys like Jota, who want to shine on that stage, can stand out. If we're just going to get rolled over like by a ridiculous score by like Real Madrid or something in a group stage game, he's not going to get a chance to show it. So hopefully, I say if we do sign full time and that settles him down, then he can get back to it. Because I just feel maybe speculation at the moment is just causing him to be a little bit off the boil. But we'll see.
Paul, I do agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't think Ange Postecoglou would go into the Champions League and be unwise on what he's up against. I think Ange Postecoglou will want to go there and make a statement because it's very good on Ange Postecoglou as well. Because this time last year, no one knew Ange Postecoglou, but if you say he goes out in the Champions League and he beats someone like a Manchester United, a Chelsea, then that'll make his profile even bigger. So I think Ange Postecoglou will be totally trying his best to do very well in Europe, make a stamp as well. I mean, just look at and the European competition that season. You've got Celtic who played off the park, the third team in Spain at Celtic Park, and went 2-0 up in the first 15 minutes in Spain as well. And then they played a very good Bayer Leverkusen side as well, and probably should have won that game. And that was the first 2 months of Ange Postecoglou at Celtic as well.
It's interesting as well that I can remember when we lost the Real Betis game, there was a lot of media sort of criticism because we're 2-0 up and end up losing 4-3 and we should have seen now. Real Betis won the Spanish Cup last night, the Copa del Rey, their first trophy in 17 years. So this Real Betis team aren't that bad at all. So I find it quite weird that there was back in December sort of media snidey comments about how Celtic flopped in the Europa League group stages. Bayer Leverkusen are one of the top teams in Germany. Other than the Bayer Leverkusen game at home, I think we gave a good account of ourselves. We were obviously a bit too gung-ho that night in the home game, and they obviously pasted us 4-0. But we went out there and we gave them a fright, and realistically, we could have came away with a point in the game in Germany. I say we're unlucky in the Real Betis one. It was just a wee bit of naivety, but going 2-0 up and then giving them a bit of a fright, I don't think there's anything to be ashamed in that. And then it's just a case of if we came to that last game and we had something on the line, it would have been ideal because we put out a second string team.
Yeah.
And I know people will go, Real Betis put out a second string team as well. But their second string team's still much, much better than ours. They're probably fielding guys that cost them like £5 million and stuff like that. Reserves in their team or guys that would be in our first team. And we still beat them that night as well. So it just shows you that it wasn't that bad a Europa League campaign overall. I just find it a bit weird that, the criticism that we get for losing a team for Spain and Germany. Come on, say Real Betis last night, first trophy in 17 years. So they're not that bad.
I just want to ask you a question because something in the comments put a comment up there about Michael said a few weeks ago at Celtic dance that Jota and Vickers are close to signing. That's quite interesting for me.
That's encouraging. I say earlier on when I'm obviously saying like Jota's still played well so far, I'm not like saying that he's rubbish or anything. I'm just to make that clear. I would welcome him signing. I just hope that is the key to getting him back to the forum from the first half of the season. Because you compare both halves with that injury being the sort of middle point, it is a 9-day. But we've seen players come back off injuries, and it can have a bit of a longer term effect on them. So yeah. And again, it's the profit margins as well with Jota and even Carter Vickers. If we sign the two of them for say £6 million, whatever it's going to be, we could definitely make profit on that. No doubt about it. Jota especially has got a lot of like potential, a lot of sell-on value. So I'm in favour of it. If both can happen, then all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think in terms of the Conference League he's speaking about there, I was quite happy to be out of that because in terms of that season, it shows you that Celtic have been at Europe and we've been 6 points ahead, and this is the most important season for me. Of course, I want us to be ahead next season, but I think next season we can get a real good go to the Champions League. Because if you look at it, the 3 games that Rangers have dropped points have all been games after European competition. They drew 2-2 when they played Motherwell at Ibrox. They drew 1-1 when they played Dundee United, and then they drew 3-3 against Ross County. Yep. So three of those games are after European competition. So I think it just shows you as well that as much as I think being in the European competition definitely has an effect on us.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's this weird thing that's went on for many years, not even just in Scotland, but in England as well. There's like a weird thing where British teams don't enjoy playing Thursday, Sunday. It's a strange one where it can affect them in different ways, but they're quite happy if they get a Champions League game on the Wednesday and play a league game on the Saturday. It's the same gap. But there's this like weird hoodoo around Thursday, Sunday. I don't get what the difference is at all. But it's no coincidence that since we went out of the Conference League, and don't get me wrong, it was a poor show, and I know Bodo are better than what many people are giving them credit for. They've shown it, but still at the same time, it was very disappointing that night. But there is a case to be made that since we've had the 1 game a week, our performances have gone like up in terms of like the league games. We've not just been like beating teams like by the scrappy like 1-0s and that. Like you look at the 7-0 game against St Johnstone, we went to Tannadice in a cup game and pasted them as well and stuff like that. And we've got a game, in fact 2 games to beat Tannadice this season. We've done well, and we've got that coming up in the near future. But definitely next season you want to, and Ange will definitely want to make a mark, because Russell's made this point on the show plenty of times about he isn't here just to do the bare minimum, win the league, win the League Cup, Scottish Cup, trebles are all good and all that. But it's that next step. And I say we've got to compete at European level. So we'll see what comes in the summer in terms of the reinforcements. I trust Ange. I mean, there's all this talk about all the money that we're going to make from the Champions League. I don't even think Ange needs that level of money, because I think he's shown already with some of the signings he's made, like under the radar signings for quite reasonable prices. I don't think he needs to be going out and spending something obscene like 15 million quid on a player. I genuinely think that he'll have all sorts of good contacts from markets that we've never even thought about looking in. And I trust him. So yeah, we'll just see what comes in the summer in terms of that, if we can get ourselves to a level to compete.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the Premier League there, I did find that interesting yesterday that Steven Gerrard against Brendan Rodgers was on yesterday, Phil.
Was it? Now, here's the weird thing, man. I have barely paid attention to the English Premier League this season. So I saw the Arsenal game yesterday. I saw the Xhaka's goal. That's the only thing I saw in England. So what was the score with Leicester and Villa?
I think it was 0-0.
Oh, that was the last game on Match of the Day then, yeah. The standard 0-0.
But I do think it's quite interesting that Aston Villa and Leicester are sitting at like the bottom end of the table in England. And that kind of lures them away from Scotland. Because if you look at Aston Villa, I think they're sitting somewhere like 13th in the table, and Leicester are sitting somewhere like 12th. Someone can correct me on that, but it just shows you that that basically they think it's better to go over there than it is to be at Celtic.
It's money. It's all about money. At the end of the day, there's so much riches down there. I mean, I agree with Roy Keane when he brings this up. There was a game I think it was the lockdown season, the one that they had to finish the season, because in Scotland we obviously decided we're all going to finish the season, but in England they played out the remaining 9 rounds of fixtures, whatever, and it was the last game. I can remember Aston Villa stayed up at West Ham, and of course Roy Keane, just being the box office that he is, they showed you the Aston Villa dressing room. They're jumping around celebrating like they've won a trophy. It just cuts back to Roy Keane's studio and they say, "So Roy, what do you think of that?" And he's absolutely raging, and he's like, "Look at it. What have they won?" And it just shows you in England that's what it's all about. Just staying in that league is more important. That is a trophy to them. If you finish 17th, it's a trophy, and it's honestly embarrassing. I mean, I feel sorry for the fans of some of the clubs down there, like the way they sacrifice things like trophies. Like you want a. I'd love, if I was an English fan, down south and that, I'd want my team to get a day out at Wembley for a cup final. But you see things like the League Cup and the FA Cup down there, a lot of the big teams just don't care. And it's like when you see that, so it just shows you down there, like with Gerrard and Rodgers going down there, they're quite happy to just go down there. The bare minimum, as long as they stay in the league, that's all that matters. So I'd much rather trade it for trophies any day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you, because I'm a big fan of Tottenham as well, Phil, and I think some of the things that annoys me is Spurs fans would I think they'd rather see their team finishing in the 4th in the table rather than win the FA Cup. And I'm like, what?
Champions League? No.
Surely the FA Cup is so important, but yeah, I think that's just the way modern football
sadly
changed as well. Talking about Roy Keane there, did you see that he's been linked to move to the Scottish Premiership?
Hibernian, yeah, I saw it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Paul McFarlane, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Yes, thank you, Paul. We've got the subliminal messaging up in the corner, which is that way. I need to work it out. Up there. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Subliminal messaging, it works.
Yep. So what do you make of that Roy Keane has basically put his name forward to show he's interested, and he's told the Times newspaper?
I'd be quite sad if he came up to Scottish football and says, I like him on the punditry, because he's pure box office, especially in Man United have a bad result. But in terms of like profile, it's a big name, so it would be good for the league. And that's the thing. I feel Scottish football is so undersold at times. It really is. I think we can do a lot better with it. We've been over this many times. I've heard it mentioned on the Bhoycie bus and numerous other podcasts. The Sky Sports deal, Jesus, it is brutal the way they treated it. Some of the weekends, I mean, that fixture round 33 there, you had a Edinburgh derby and a Dundee derby, were both 3 o'clock Saturday kickoffs. And it's like, the Sky deal is absolutely abysmal. But Russell's enlightened us in that one. It turns out that BT, as much as we want BT to like cover it and how good they were, they didn't show the money at the end of the day. Like Jerry Maguire, show me the money. They didn't do it, so so unfortunately that's just the way it's went. But I really do think that we can do so much better with Scottish football. Hopefully, when this Sky contract runs out, they pursue some sort of other option, if there is, like even if it's a contained streaming service where it's all just Scottish football on one app, just something, because we could do something else. So a guy like Roy Keane coming up here would be a good boost for the name of it. But see, from a personal point of view, I do like him on the punditry, because he is incredible. Listen, the guy could read out a shopping list and I would be, enthralled by it.
Yeah, I want to ask you a quick question, because we've got another talking point here, and it's in terms of this, in terms of trying to build on last week and trying to move on, because as much as people don't want to talk about it, the gap at the top of the table is now 3 points. Yep. So it's important that Celtic they get rid of that the bad taste of last week and now move on to this very important game today against Ross County.
Oh, they've got to. That's the important thing. And I imagine for like the players, it's been tough, but at least they've been in training every day, working on systems and so forth and tactics. But for us fans, it's horrible, because we just want them to get out there and get a win under their belt to get that sort of eradicate what happened last week. So it's been a torturous 7 days waiting on this game. Just hope that, we come away with the victory at the end of it. But yeah, last week was it was a dent. As I said at the end of the show, I feel it's going to just be a speed bump at the end of the day. It's going to be disappointing for a wee while because obviously it was 2 Rangers. Had we lost to, say, Aberdeen or something last week in the same manner, there would be disappointment, but it would have cooled down really quickly. But there's still going to be a bitter taste because it was Rangers. But no, it's vital now that they just get out there and get it done. Even if it's an ugly performance today and gets us the points, that's all that matters. We just need to go out there and make sure that we get over this line as quickly as we can.
Yeah, because you as much as we don't want to, you don't want to go into next week and it only being a 3-point gap or only being a 4-point gap, because then if it goes to 1 point, anything can happen.
Exactly. They'll if we drop points today, they will sense blood next week. I know a lot of fans are very much, well, we paced them at Celtic Park in February. We'll do it again. You can't really say it's that old cliche about form. Form goes out the window in a derby game, so you can't pin your hopes on that we'll just repeat what happened in February. We just need to. But when it comes to that, though, Ange will, he won't be thinking about next week at all. He's very much a very grounded manager, and I think he's good at keeping the players grounded. I think it was all this week. It'll all just been, look, don't worry about the Rangers game in 2 weeks' time. We need to worry about Ross County first. So yeah, I'm quite confident that he's got it. Well, been keeping them in the concentration in the right place this week. So
yeah, because I think the big thing for me is if Celtic win today, then next week, if Celtic get a draw, then it doesn't really matter because 6 points is a gap with 2 games to go. So then all you need to do is stay focused for the next 2 games, and Celtic are there.
Aye. Well, the thing is, like, in terms of motivation as well, like, we've got 5 fixtures left, but, it's a case of if they win today and win next week, it's essentially done. I know they'll be mathematically saying, well, it's not officially over yet if we win today and then next week. And it's like, well, come on. If we win next week in the day, we'll be 9 points in front with an obscene goal difference with 3 games to go. The chances of that getting overturned would be pretty slim. We don't need a point from the last 3 games. And given we've got Hearts and Motherwell at Celtic Park to come, I fancy that would be it, done and dusted. So that is a good enough carrot where Ange will just be telling them, look, get today done. That's us 1 step closer. Why take 5 steps, which is what we've got, when we can do it in 2?
Yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, if you look at it yesterday as well, I thought Motherwell were very, very poor. I mean, Rangers scored 3 goals, obviously, but I mean, if you look at Motherwell, I thought they were terrible. I mean, Rangers were down to 10 men for the majority of that game, and Motherwell didn't offer much.
Yeah, I'd seen the goals on Sports Scene last night. The first one's quite a hilarious one. How he's managed to palm in his own net from that angle. Yeah, when I see, like, I'd heard the score coming through during the day because I was watching the F1 qualifying at the same time, and I'd heard that they scored, so I just flicked over quickly to see it, and I was like, oh, fuck's sake. Right back to the F1, I was like, what the state of that goal? So that just sums up Motherwell today. And even when I'd heard that Rangers were doing 10 men, I was like, they'll probably still come through. And they did. And I always say that to my dad, like, he's very much of, they could drop points the other day. I always treat it as they're going to win. Just always have it in my head that, just treat it the Rangers are going to win this game instead, because you're just setting yourself up for a bit of disappointment. I imagine there's a few Celtic fans yesterday who probably thought, they could drop points there tomorrow. That could be a difficult one. No, just always have it in your head. Expect them to win. Then when they do drop points, it's a bonus. That's the way I always do it.
Yeah. Next thing we're going to move on to is to talk about Rio Hatate. What do you make of him? Because it's something that interests me, because he came out in the Japanese press this week, and he said that he's very tired and he's very fatigued as well. Do you think that Ange will maybe take him out for a few games, or do you think he'll be straight back in that lineup?
See, this is a strange one, because I think many fans felt that he was knackered after the Rangers game at Ibrox. There was a point in the second half just before he gets subbed where he was blowing out his backside, like trying to chase I can't remember if it was that broke up the wing for Rangers, but he was struggling to keep up with him. And I think Mary were going into the St Johnstone game the next week, me included. I was like, well, Davy Tumble's back fit now. Surely Tumble's going to get a start. But Hatate started the game against St Johnstone, played, he scored a goal in the first 5 minutes or something, played pretty well. And I'm coming away from going, well, shows what I know. You know, he's Ange Postecoglou is a manager for a reason. It's like, you know, you think you've got all the answers, and Ange Postecoglou just changes the questions. You know, it's like so again, I think Ange has got an idea in his head what's going to get him over the line, and if it involves Hatate playing, then so be it. If Ange believes that's the answer, but from a fan point of view, just going from what I would do in that position, I would definitely be looking at maybe getting Davy Turnbull in the other day, because if he does look like he does need a wee break. And I don't think, I mean, Turnbull's not a terrible downgrade. You forget, because Turnbull's been out for quite a while, you forget in the first half of the season, he was another one, like Kyogo, that was putting in good numbers, but you forget that because it's been a while. So it's not like it's a terrible downgrade, but, oh, Tati's not playing, we're going to play somebody for the B team. It's like, no, David Turnbull's like an established, first team player. So I don't think it's a huge risk. I mean, my midfield today, if it was me, I would have a Riley in over Rogic, because I think Rogic, I think O'Reilly's done enough in the last few appearances. I thought against St Johnstone coming on, thought he did well, and I felt one of the very few bright sparks last week against Rangers. I thought O'Reilly was good when he came on. I thought he gave us something, because Rogic was just marked at the game. I'd have O'Reilly, I'd have Turnbull, and I'd have McGregor as my three in the middle today. But I sense you disagree with that, young Reegan.
Yeah, I do. I would play Rogic, Beaton, and McGregor.
Beaton, that's I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about opinions and stuff like that. So it's good that, again, it shows we've got options, we've got different things there. So I think either of those midfields are strong enough to get the job done. It just shows you again that we're not like on absolute strings like we were in December, where we were limping towards that January window. No, so I think, I think in terms of like Hatate, though, from a fan point of view, I think he needs a break, but Ange knows better. Ange knows what's going on. So we'll just need to see when the lineup comes out later on. But yeah, he's looking a bit fatigued, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for everyone bringing their comments in. Send us your midfield free, and we'll bring it up in the comments as well. But the next thing we're going to move on to is the fact that our number one right back is said to be out for the rest of the season. Joseph Juranovic. What do you make of that?
I hope. I was going to say, I hope we don't get a penalty, because he's been hitting them absolutely perfectly this season. Although Giakoumakis is, well, other than the Livingston one, he's not too bad at them.
And
McGregor's took a few. Aye.
He's missed a few as well. He missed.
Missed against Livingston.
St Johnstone as well. That's true.
So we better, if we get penalties, it might be a bit like, a bit nervy here. Juranovic, that one against Leverkusen, that was so gallus the way he chipped it in. Fantastic. But yeah, for the longest time, I don't know what it was with the Ralston thing, because I agree, Ralston has came on leaps and bounds. I don't know if it's a case of I just couldn't believe that Ralston had improved to the level he had, because I was always very much of Juranovic, we've got to play him all the time, but now with this idea that Juranovic could miss a good few games here, maybe 3 games out of the last 5, maybe even the whole 5 games. As I said, he's out for weeks. We've only got weeks left. I'm not too worried about Ralston playing now. Like maybe early in the season, I would have been like, I'd always rather have Juranovic. But I don't think Ralston's really let us down, and he's a bit more of a physical presence, and especially in a game like today, where there is going to be a lot of physicality with the way Ross County are going to play, you're going to need that. I mean, is Ralston as technically gifted as Juranovic? No, he's not. He's not as technically gifted, but it doesn't make him a bad player. He gets the job done, and he very seldom lets us down. So I don't think it's a huge problem. If Ralston gets injured, though, we've got a problem, a big problem. Don't want Welsh coming on it right back again.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are fairly confident in Ralston. I think that just shows the impact Ange Postecoglou has had on him, because at the start of the season, people were wanting Celtic to bring in 2 or 3 right backs, and for Tony Ralston to do as well as he has done, I think he's been absolutely fantastic.
Totally. It speaks volumes for him, how well he has done. You're totally right, because again, I remember the absolute dread at the start of the season when that tweet came out about Ralston has signed a 1-year extension, especially on the back of last season, where the Celtic Twitter account could not could not catch a break, where it was like every time they tweeted something, it was just the Neil Lennon picture with the target over his head, or the cross over his head and stuff like that. And then, yeah, you're going into the summer, you've just announced a manager that nobody'd really heard of. And then one of the first bits of business after that was Ralston signed a 1-year deal. And yeah, I can remember the bile on social media for that one. So fair play to the lad. He has changed many, many opinions on him, and good on him. He deserves it. You know, and you like to see a Celtic boy doing well. He's grew up, he's a fan of the club. So good on him. And hopefully he can come in the day and just keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, now we're going to touch on someone who plays next to Tony Ralston, and that is Greg Taylor. What do you make of Greg Taylor? Because I've slagged Greg Taylor on my own channel, on different channels, and I've basically said that he's not Celtic quality, but I think the last couple of games he's kind of he's steadied my mind a little bit, that, you know, because there was this going around that he's not up to Celtic standard. Maybe back in his older days, he was a fan of Rangers as well, but I think now he's showing that he's a proper good player for us.
Yeah, I always feel with Greg Taylor that the one thing he is guilty of is he's not named Kieran Tierney. Unfortunately, because he's a young Scottish left back, he will always be compared to Kieran Tierney. People expect that, and it's like, look, Tierney was a once-in-a-generation talent. I think Greg Taylor, he's not outstanding, but I don't think he's terrible neither. I think he's a very sort of like solid middle-of-the-road player. I think if we want to progress and be a force in Europe and actually, you know, really start taking scalps again, we probably need a better left back. And I think that'll be a position that he'll prioritise in the summer, because I don't think Scales is somebody that Ange has got a lot of faith in. Although, in fairness, I don't think Scales has played that bad when he has actually played. But I think in the summer, that may be one of the Ralston scored the winner today. Paul, you said that last night on the Double Doon.
He did.
I hope it's not in the 98th minute, though. I'm no big fan of that idea. But yeah, Taylor, I think he's a steady enough hand for domestic games. I think he's okay. Bo's a bit hot and cold, but we probably will prioritise a left back in the summer. I think it's something we need to do, and I think that might bring Taylor on, like, you know, leaps and bounds. And that's probably one of the reasons why Ralston is improved, because he's got Juranovic there, who not only is competing with, but he'll be learning a lot off of Juranovic as well, because they play the same position. If we can get somebody of a similar quality to Juranovic to come in, but a left-sided version, then yeah, there you go. Taylor needs a Juranovic equivalent brought in by Russell Bhoycie in the background there. But he's right. He is right. It would bring him on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Paul was fantastic last night on the show. I mean, it was great. I mean, obviously it didn't do as well as me and you in the quiz, but
that's right. The 100% club has taken over today. That's right. Aye, so we're with only 100%ers at the moment. Aye, although you smashed me in terms of time, you were rapid fire. My whole mentality on the quiz was I just wanted to get them all right, and then I had a total brain fart on the 6th question where I forgot about Double Doon. And I was like, because the questions come up on the screen. The questions come up on the screen, so I'm like reading it, and Russ was like, "Come on," and I'm like, "What do you want the answer?" And he's like, "Come on!" And I was like, "Oh, Double Doon." So I wasted about 25 seconds there. But I did get it right in the end. I did get 100%. So I did do that. But young Reegan here absolutely smashed me in terms of the time. He absolutely battered me. So fair play.
I mean, he was trying to get me to say Double Doon as well. I totally forgot about it. I just kept saying the questions.
It's so easy to forget. That's one thing. I recommend people coming on the show, but that will easily escape your head when you're in the quiz. You'll easily escape you.
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of this comment that Bodo's left back for next season?
Both if I went to the Bundesliga for free in January, he'd be in fact. Oh man, do you know what that reminds me of though? Do you remember that whole period we played Rosenborg for like 4 seasons straight? It was at Merling, the wee left back Bond boy. The amount of people I said it, and me and the guy sits next to me, Chris. We said it for so long. Says we should sign that Merling guy, and then he went to a team in France. He was out Bugger Merling. There you go, Brown Warrior. That is the guy. He was outstanding, that boy. But yeah, that's what that reminds me of with the Bodo thing. But it's like, man, you know, like I don't feel we do enough of that. We play a lot of teams in Europe at a similar level, and there might be a player that's quite outstanding, and we don't capitalise on it. You know, it's like what more scouting do we need to do? We've just literally watched the guy play well against us. I mean, I'm sure that Rangers signed Borna Barisic on the back of him playing in a Europa League qualifier against them, and it's like,
yeah, he played for Osijek in Croatia.
There you go. So it's like, what more scouting do you need? You've literally just watched him playing against you. So, but yeah, when you're letting ones like that go, where you can see this guy's a bit of a quality player, then you hear he went for a freebie. But you've got to weigh up the whole idea that he had the choice of a Bundesliga team, or he had the choice to come to Celtic and play Motherwell 4 times a season. What are you going to do? So, fair play if he's went to the German league. Good on him.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you this: do see in terms of age, do you think, in terms of some of the teams that we are playing, do you think that maybe look back in Bodo go in and say, right, a few of these players are very, very good, and some of them they can get for probably cheap?
That's the thing, they will be quite a low price. And as I said earlier on, I don't think Ange needs to spend stupid amounts of cash, and I think he's quite savvy in the market. I think when we linked with is it Solbakken, who was the right midfielder? Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't a big fan of some of his shithousery during the fixtures, because the second goal that they scored, I'm convinced he was down on the deck for about 2 minutes, like rolling around, and we were playing on. And then the ball was coming out in his direction. He magically sprung back to life. And I think that just caught our defence off a guard. And then he just weaved his way through, played the ball across the goal, and they scored the second. So I thought his shithousery was a bit... but I did also say at the time when I was on the show with Russell, I says we could do with players like that, because see the amount of teams in Europe that come to Celtic Park and they do things like that. And we always take the bait. See, instead of just being better than it, we always seem to get really flustered by it. So... yeah, we could do with some players with the antics, but yeah, I can remember he was a particular pain in the backside, because he scored their first goal as well out in Bodo or Glint, wherever the town is. I don't know what the town is in Norway, if it's Bodo or Glint, I'm not sure. But he did score the first one, I'm pretty sure, as well that night. But he looked a bit of a player, he did.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you this as well. Do you think that sometimes Celtic are too easy to play against in Europe? Because if you look at sides in Europe like Atletico Madrid and all that, I'm not saying Celtic should punch everybody they play against, but like sometimes we're a little bit too easy to play against, and you see a lot of teams like Atletico Madrid, Villarreal, who are a small team, they waste a lot of time when they go in front and they don't try and play a lot of football. So see, once they score their goal and they do their very best, they shut up shop and they waste time and they try and stay close. And
yep. Well, look at the last 2 European exits we've had. When we played Bodo in the home game, we got it back to 2-1 and we lost a goal within a minute. They kicked off and then remember the infamous one against Copenhagen where we got the VAR penalty.
No, I was there.
The VAR gave us a penalty with about 9 minutes to go. Edward, with a really garish chip, done a Juranovic and chipped it in off just under the crossbar. And then you see him in the goal celebration. He goes, he grabs the ball, and as he's running back, he's telling the players, concentrate. Concentrate. I would have been quite happy to go extra time that night, and then we lost 2 goals in the last 5 minutes of the game. And it's like we have to be a bit more savvy sometimes. I think we get a bit too eager. Well, I say that those games there, we've just scored. We're just going to push forward and try and get another one. It's like sometimes you just need to just take a breather, because it's no coincidence. And another one that comes to mind is we played Bayern Munich a few years ago under Rodgers. Callum McGregor equalised, and we were on the ascendancy at that point. The roof came off the place. Bayern up the park and scored. Javi Martinez scored a minute after we equalised, and it was like so soul destroying. We do need to be a wee bit more clever with some of these performances. We get a bit too excited sometimes. So, but again, I trust that Ange will, drum this in. And once he gets more players in the summer that fit his system, his vision, I think these will be things that he'll work on. Because again, we've got to go into Europe next season. We've got to put on a bit of a show here, a bit of performance.
Yeah, I mean, something I just want to touch on now is the fact that after the Rangers game last week, McGregor basically got the manager and they got all the players round in a huddle, spoke to them all one by one. And do you think that's McGregor now showing that he's a proper captain and is showing example from Scott Brown and people like that?
Definitely. He definitely is, because, again, because Scott Brown was around for so long and because he was the captain for so long, people have got an idea in their head of what a captain should be, but they can do it in different ways. McGregor's not the type that will be shouting and bawling and try to wind up opponents in the way that Brown used to do. So I think I don't want to say I had my doubts at the start of the season. I thought McGregor was really the outstanding choice of what was left in the squad, because we were quite decimated after last season. And I didn't see anybody else that, I mean, maybe if Christopher Azure had stayed, maybe he would have been captain, but I don't think he'd be a long-term one. I think if Azure stayed, he would stay one more season and then he would have went. So McGregor was the outstanding choice. And I think he's came on leaps and bounds. He's just doing it in a different way from what Scott Brown did, which a lot of people might be like, we're so used to Bruni. And see McGregor, I mean, that was good to see last week, because again, it's like, that's something that gets criticised a lot in just world football in general, like, you've had a bad result, you should still go and acknowledge the fans, in some capacity. Sometimes players will just trudge off. There was an incident a few weeks ago in England where, when Everton were really in the shit, they get beat by Burnley, and at the end of the game, the Everton players just completely avoided all the travelling support, didn't acknowledge them, just walked off up the tunnel, heads down. And it's like, you should. So last week we've had a bad result, so go and acknowledge the fans and showing in front of the fans that sort of camaraderie. It's going to bode well. So yeah, I'm quite confident that McGregor's doing a very good job.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, because it's something I thought last week, and it's one of the reasons why Celtic never won that game last week. I said this to John Hartson on Tuesday. I think Celtic are missing a Scott Brown type player in that midfield to basically break up play, stop the game for a bit, and try and waste a bit of time. Celtic are missing that kind of biting midfield. Now, I'm not saying that McGregor's not a kind of bitey midfielder, but if you look at all the midfielders, you've got Rogic, you've got Rio, you've got Matt, Matt joining us from MK Dons as well.
Yep.
I just think we're missing that kind of look, if Ferguson from Aberdeen or someone like that, to put a tackle in and make sure that people know that we are here to fight as well as play some great football as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the midfield options, the most physical person we've got is Beaton, but realistically, is he like that physical when you look at his game? No, I mean, he's a big guy, but I don't feel he really utilises his strength that much. He's good at mistiming a tackle. He's very, very good at getting himself a cynical booking when a team's on the counter-attack. He'll just chop somebody down, get his mandatory booking for the game. He's always very good at that. But a name that I brought up this week, and I said it in the Bhoycie WhatsApp chat, is a player of, not saying this player in particular, but I think somebody the ilk of Wanyama, a real destroyer in the middle, but also had ability. That would be the type of player I would be looking for. I say not Victor himself, but I loved Victor Wanyama when we had him. A player like that who's an absolute force in the middle, but he can play. He's not just like a big clogger that just kicks people. He's actually got some serious ability about him. If we can find somebody like that, and again, think about it, he was signed for less than £1 million playing in the Belgian league. These players are out there, and I think we've got the manager in charge right now that knows these type of markets and can find players of that ilk.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, when you ever played for Southampton and Spurs as well, so
he did.
He was technically very good as well.
He was very good. He also gave me one of my best moments as a Celtic fan, that last minute or late goal against Hearts. The one he battered it in, and Fraser Foster saved a penalty in the last couple of minutes. But
is that the 1-0 game?
1-0. Yeah, it was a bit of a slog.
I was at that game, aye.
It's a good one, that. Because he hadn't scored a goal for us up to that point, and he just absolutely battered it right into the top corner for about 30 yards. It was obscene, but it was a good moment. I remember that one very well. But yeah, if we could find a player of his type of stature, I think that would go along. Because I say the only physical option we've got right now is Beaton, who I don't even think is that physical when you think about it. Just because he's tall, people think he is a pure physical guy, but he's actually not as physical as you think.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to ask you one last point, and it's on Starfelt, because I've still seen a lot of people mention, not from Celtic side, but in general, still saying that people can get at Celtic by getting Starfelt. I don't understand this notion.
Do you know, I've said this as well on the show, like, I don't understand, like, why there seems to be such a narrative against Starfield. It's felt like since day one when we signed them, maybe was it £4.5 million? It was quite a big outlay for a transfer, especially in Scotland. It just feels like the media and even some of our own fans just weren't convinced from day one. And yet he did have a bit of a rocky start. I do take that on board. I mean, the own goal against Alkmaar. It was Alkmaar, wasn't it? It wasn't Michelin, he scored an OG, it was Alkmaar. And then obviously the Hearts game where he literally just got thrown in. Essentially, he'd only been with the team for a couple of days and he was kind of at fault for the first goal. It was a bit sloppy on his part. But since then, I think, other than the cup final against Hibs, where Kevin Nisbet kind of had him on toast, I think he's been all right. I think he's been fine. Carter Vickers is definitely the key. Carter Vickers is the better of the two. But together, there's a reason why Christopher Julian hasn't been getting in the team. Like, Julian's been fit for a while, but he's sticking with Starfelt and Carter Vickers because Ange knows that at this stage, I've stuck with these two for 9 months of the season, whatever it is. I don't have time for sentiment now to give this guy a wee game, get him some game time. It's like, I can't, unless we have an injury crisis. That's the only way Julian now is getting a start at centre-back. Stephen Welsh will get a start before Julian at this rate. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I don't think Starfelt's that bad at all. I really want him to get his goal. That's the one outfield player that's not scored a goal yet this season, am I right in saying?
Oh, so, there you go, aye.
Aye, so I really want, put it in the right end. Sorry, he scored 2 own goals this season, hasn't he? Yeah, okay, so he has technically scored, but yeah, if you could put it in the right end in the next few games, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask you before we end the show, what do you think are the key aspects for Celtic today in terms of making sure we stay at the top of the table by 6 points?
Keep doing what we're doing. I mean, last week we did the post-match pish. You and I were on it after that defeat, and I'm going to, Russell, appreciate you saying this. I can't back down. I've got to double down because I came on this show last week, and at the end, Russell gave me the final word. I had to give a wee sort of closing comment, and I said, "When we win this league, we'll look back on the same." So I can't now. I've put myself out there. The Rangers fans have probably got the clips ready. I'll be one of the ones, but I will again just stick to my guns. I think we'll go up there today, and I think we'll just get it done. If we can get a great performance out of it, which I'm quietly confident about, then all the better. But hey, I'll take a bowling shoot ugly 1-0 win right now. I will take it. But yeah, when we win this league, as I said, I put myself out there and felt that last week, and I think if we keep doing what we've been doing all season, I think we'll get through it today and just keep going, just keep ploughing on.
Yeah, we're going to end the show on a different aspect today, and that is the fact that the Dundee manager and former Celtic player said to his players on Friday that he would basically not put any clothes on if Dundee managed to win the game yesterday. So I bet you everybody is so glad that Dundee drew yesterday.
Yeah, I'll raise my glass to St. Johnston. Thanks for that one. Mark McGee, I mean, I think the cops need to be investigating him for some psychotic serial killer type behaviour. I mean, talking about turning off his heating and starving himself. And it's like, we got worrying, mate. Like, calm down.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope Andrew's not turned off his heating last night. And went naked in the living room last night to bring us some luck. To bring us some luck.
Oh, that's going a bit extreme. Oh, I hope he doesn't go down that route at all. But no, it's almost the day. I say, I just hope that we get that done and just keep it going, mate. That's all we got to do.
Yeah, have you got a prediction for the day, Bill?
Again, I'm just going to stick to my guns. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Celtic. I'm going to go big. I'm going to say we're going to have a good performance. I say I'm not backing down. I'm doubling down, mate. I'm doubling right down. I'll say 3-0. I'll just go for it instead of KG 2-1 or anything. Definitely no last minute winners. Hopefully, I'll say we'll go up there and convincing in the end.
Yeah, I mean I said 2-1 the other night, so I'll just stick to 2-1.
2-1, fair dues, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean everyone can fire in their comments and let us know who they think will score and what the score will be. But don't forget, guys, I'm sure the post-match push will be on straight after the game, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's been a good fun, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm always happy going and have a natter about Celtic, so yeah, good to be Blether. Thanks for having me on, Reegan.
No problem, mate. I think I'm sitting at 102 next week, so if you're nearby 102, we can pop up for a chat, mate.
I've said to us already because I'm 139. I'm in the lower jock steam, but I can come round before the game or something
I'm
and say
sitting at
hello.
102. I am
Okay.
sitting at we're sitting at 102. So if you let me know, then we can definitely meet up, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, definitely, mate. We'll make that happen.
Aye, sounds good. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining us this Sunday, and hopefully Celtic can get the vital 3 points. Let's
Yes, come on.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.